Hi, a very good afternoon. For today, we are very happy to have with us Ethan. So Ethan, over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ethan. I do a few things. I run a tech startup. I'm a corporate trainer as well. I'm also a co-founder of another investment education academy as well. So yeah, that's been doing various businesses over the years. So if you want to call me something, maybe collectively just entrepreneur is fine, I guess.
Great. But for today, I think we are seeing Ethan for a very special reason. Because for Ethan, he has recently set up a website. It's called the Mindreader, using AI to do profiling. Yes, you hear me right, it's profiling. For some of us whom has been exposed to profiling, like previously we have like DISC, Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, or even Enneagram right now. There's also quite a bit of workshop on that. Why is profiling so?
Okay, maybe I can share a bit about my experience in profiling.
Sure.
So I mean, personality profiling, there are many tools out there, right? So personally, I'm certified in Myers-Briggs, DISC. I'm proficient in Enneagram. I'm also proficient in this tool that most people have not heard of called temperament sorter. So I mean, I've been reading about profiling and personality types since over a decade, since 2012. I think that's when my interest in type was first sparked. But I think right now it's quite the rage, especially among whether it's in the company, whether it's among young people, right, to do any of these kind of profiling tests as well. So the question is, right, picturing us is why is profiling so important? I mean, profiling essentially helps you understand yourself and also helps you understand others. Well, most people do profiling to understand themselves, and really different profiling tests out there, right, measure different parts of yourself. So let's use an analogy right now. Let's say we measure ourselves, our height and weight, and from there we can derive our BMI. So the BMI essentially tells us whether we are, like, let's say, underweight, just nice, we are obese. So it gives a prediction based on a combination of two factors out there on ourselves, and it tells us, predicts certain risks involved if we were in a certain combination of that height and weight. So essentially what personality profiling does essentially is to look at various aspects of our personality or our behavior, and therefore making predictions based on a combination of things. So I give an example. Let's use something that, let's use a Myers-Briggs, extroversion and introversion, and let's use another metric from there. Let's say a thinking and feeling dichotomy. So if somebody who's an introverted thinker, for example, you can predict certain things about the choices of career that he might like, compared to, let's say, an extroverted feeler, somebody who is more people to people. So just by that combination of two individual traits, you are able therefore to make a certain predictions about people and about yourself. So long story, come back to it. Why is it important? I think self-awareness is one of the first things we must understand about ourselves so that we can improve and become better, right? So how do you know how you can become better? I think the first thing you need to do is to know where you are right now. The same way, if you are holding you want to know where you want to go, the first question we want to ask is, where are you now? I think that's the same idea. So I think that's the first thing that's important about profiling.
Let's put it very rightly. I think for us to start with anything, it really starts from ourselves. So it's actually a tool that we can use to have a gauge of what kind of profiles that we are. And I think essentially there's no so-called right and wrong, right? Yeah, it's really a matter of understanding ourselves, so that for even given trait or certain, maybe even projects or anything that we are doing, we know where to start with, because knowing ourselves, that's where we know that, where can we bump up a little bit, or what else can we do? So I understand that Ethan, you have come up with a system of doing profiling for yourself. Then maybe can you share with us how is it different from some of the commonly used profiling techniques?
Okay, so I didn't create a profiling system. I actually derived a profiling system from David Kirsch's temperament sorter, which divided people into 4 types: guardians, artisans, idealists, and rationals. Right. So this is his system. What I did is I adapted that system to be used as a sales/communication system. So adapted it to help a salesperson or somebody who does client-facing account managers to understand where their clients are coming from when they say certain things, and what makes them want to buy something, what helps them make a decision. So essentially that's what I did, right? In long story short, I turned a personality system into a sales system. Right.
Oh, I see. So from a personality to a sales system, such that it's very applicable. You know, it's not just about theory, but it's about real life application, right? And also, I think an important point that I hear you, more for effective communication as well. And Ethan, I understand that you have actually written 2 books. So what did you write on?
Okay, so I think before we get to that, I just want to mention that even though I say sales, right, essentially what I mean is really communication, because sales is really all about communication, and a lot of us are very adverse to the word selling, but actually, if you really want to face reality, we all sell ourselves all the time to our employers, to our colleagues, to our bosses. I think you can't run away from it, right? If you want to be successful in life, even with your spouse, you have to sell to your spouse at some level to convince your spouse of certain things, to convince your kids and all that. So that's number one I wanted to say, because some people seem to be very adverse to this word. I remember I was serving a client, and then they said that like, okay, don't use the word sell. I'm like, but that's what you're doing, selling, right? But I think, I think it's to really just to redefine that word a bit, because it seems to have a very negative connotation to it. All right. So that aside, I wrote 2 books. When I first started into this journey about understanding people through personality profiling, or through, I started off from a relationship point of view, right? I started to help couples understand themselves better, as particularly dating couples as well as married couples, to understand themselves, what kind of potential conflicts they have, and how they can, let's say, resolve those conflicts. So that's how I started, and I wrote this book called Building Relationships with the 16 Types. So that's where I wrote about how do you understand the differences between you and your spouse, and how do you negotiate those differences. And I spoke about the 4 dichotomies using the Myers-Briggs as a framework. That's my first ever ebook. But the first book that I really published was called The Mindreader. It was essentially what I've been teaching, which is a sales system. Right, so that's where I teach salespeople 3 steps: discover, distinguish, and deliver. Discover means understanding the 4 different types of clients they face. Distinguish is how do you know who you're dealing with in a very short time. And number 3 is how do you sell to each of these 4 types? So how do you communicate with each of these 4 types? So I call it a mind reader because people always think that I'm mind reading them. So why do I say that? It's like, when I meet someone in a networking meeting and I tell them this is what I do, the first thing people will always do is, hey, can you read me? So of course people say, yeah. So they wanted to test whether I'm actually legit, right? So I actually just, so I ask them 1 or 2 questions, and then I just tell them about themselves. I tell them, oh, this is how you are like, this is typically your challenges with your careers, with people. And people get so fascinated. You just read my mind. How come you understand me so well? I'm like, that's because I understand profiling, right? But from a surface, it looks like I just read your mind, but actually I didn't read your mind. But that's why I call it mind reader, because it looks like I'm reading your mind.
Because there's one trip that I traveled with Ethan. We were going for dinner, so Ethan was just saying that, hey, Pei-Cheng, please choose what you want to eat. Yeah, because he said based on my profile, what was my profile again?
A knight.
A knight. Yeah. He said for a knight, and while you are.
Healer type.
He's a healer, yeah. So according to him, is that if he were to make a suggestion, and I probably would say okay, but I will probably be still quite bothered about it. As in, like, I'll eat, but I probably wouldn't be as happy. But he said that, but for him, no issues. I can just suggest anything. He's perfectly fine with it. So, so you see, that's how different we are. And because of this, I have found that wow, it's quite easy to get along with Ethan. It's like he can read me like a book, right? Yeah. So I think there's certain predictive kind of in terms of behaviors, right? That we can tell, and this can actually enhance the relationship, I think, between individuals, because sometimes there's these very subtle kind of hints that are being dropped along the way. And I think for Ethan, recently with your website, Mindreader, you have actually gone beyond that using AI. Maybe you can share with us a little bit more. How in what way have you developed this system even further, such that I think a lot more people can find even, or rather utilize it even more efficiently.
So I think so. Doing a sales system with a profiling system is really quite innovative, and most people don't really go there. Most people, when they teach selling, it's really just about focusing on like the charisma, the presentation, objection handling. So when I did AI, it was not because it was in trend, right? And not everyone is talking about ChatGPT and all that, but it was not in trend then, right, to do AI. And I started on this project over 2 years ago, long before you heard about ChatGPT, right? And one of the reasons I started it is because I realized that one of the tougher challenges that a person has after attending my program is to be able to profile someone quickly, right? So you can understand the theory, like, okay, the 4 types, the 4 ways of selling, but the difficult thing is that, okay, so let's say you meet a person in the next meeting, how do you know which type you're dealing with? That's the biggest question we have to answer. So I sought to think, how can I serve my students better? How can I build something that actually helps my students? And that's where Mindreader AI came about, right? So I figured if I was able to teach the computer how to profile someone based on text they use, then the students have an easier time. So all the students need to do right now is to just cut and paste and input some text on social media that this person uses, and essentially the AI predicts their type for you, right? So it's essentially trying to put my intelligence into the computer, and that's why it's called an AI, right? It's artificial intelligence in there. And so And I don't give the computer a criteria to look out for. What I've done is that I fed the computer thousands of data points, like, oh, this person is a healer, this person who wrote this is a knight, blah, 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 and so on. And so that's how I teach the computer. So a lot of people don't understand AI very well, right? They think, oh, I told the computer what to look out for. People think that I actually tell the computer what to look out for, like, oh, please look out for this keyword, please look out for that, please look out for this. Actually, that's not correct. That's not how an AI works. That's an algorithm, right? If you were to do that, you create a parameters for the computer to search for. That's not really wholly AI. I mean, you can still argue that it's some sort of computer intelligence, of course, but this AI that I built with machine learning essentially is to feed the computer with enough data points as to how it's assessed, and let the computer figure out from there, from the things that I fed the computer, and then I give it one more text, and then it try to figure out from there. So I've taught the computer thousands of data points, and one of the things I realized now, there's a lot of the people that use the tool come back to me and say, Ethan, what if the client doesn't have social media? Then how? Then I thought, okay, how can I serve them better then? What if the client really doesn't have? Okay, you know what? I'm going to start teaching the computer how to read faces, right? So that's where I began to feed the computer face data, right? This face is a healer, this face is a knight, this face is a wizard, blah, blah, blah. And I fed the computer 21,000 data points, right? So, and that's where the computer began to develop a certain competence to be able to start reading faces. And some people say, then isn't that a very superstition and kind of thing? I'm like, I also don't believe in superstition, and I'm a very scientific person, if anything, right? But I'm not telling the computer what to look out for, right? And that's the fascinating thing about I'm not actually telling the computer, oh, please look out for the eyebrows, please look out for the face, the head. I don't telling the computer anything. I'm just telling the computer, this guy is a reported healer, this guy is a reported wizard, this guy is a reported knight. So please figure out the rest that I'm not telling you. So by doing so, I'm actually enabling my students to be able to profile someone quickly so that they're able to communicate effectively with them in any context, right? You can use that in sales, you can use that in a person-to-person communication. So that's essentially how I built out the AI, out of a need, actually.
I had the opportunity to play around with the system,
Yeah.
and I was quite fascinated because other than copying the text, you also have another feature, I think, like just take a screenshot of a communication, right?
Yeah.
And the AI can actually interpret outcomes from it, and together with pictures, right? And I think from what I hear just now, is like you're not exactly telling it what to look out for.
I don't.
So it's really very much statistical in that sense, or
in AI language, we call it a black box. We don't know what the AI is figuring out from the data points we're giving it. That's why a lot of people are very scared of AI, because it eventually becomes smarter than us. It will become smarter than us. Okay. Right.
To maybe just out of interest, right? Typically, to what extent is it able to consistently come up with a same profile, of a certain person? Because maybe based on different scenarios, right? Sometimes profile may present itself in a different manner. So what can we do to enhance the accuracy of the readings?
To do that is quite simple. If you were to meet someone for the first time, or all you had to know about this person, right, is a line of text. What will be your ability to be able to profile that person? Very limited, because but the more you teach it, the more you feed it, the more you tell them about this person, the more it's therefore able to make a more intelligent guess, I would say. So long story short, just give it more data.
Okay, so which the system has this capability, right, for us to give as much information as we can. Okay. I mean, that's something that is very interesting to me, actually. My background, I came from sales, and in terms of profiling, is also something that I'm very interested in. And of course, to some extent, because due to the number of people that we are seeing, so we are able to tell to a certain extent. But I think for someone who is new to any kind of in terms of business or the work they do, where like you said, they are client funding, then that sometimes you may have some difficulties. And even for us, very seasoned, I would say sales individuals. Sometimes there could be certain blockages, because certain people you couldn't just put them into anything, and that is where I think we needed some guidance or even some help or suggestions.
I think you brought up a very interesting point. You say you have met a lot of people, so you kind of know. That's exactly how the AI works, right? The reason, how do you know certain people are certain types, right, is that you actually have developed a subconscious after meeting thousands of people. Right? If I would ask you, how do you know this person is like that? You can't tell me. You can't tell that, oh, it's because of the way he walked. Or it's because of the way he said something. You know something, but you can't tell why. That's don't know this person. And that's exactly what the AI is meant to do. It's meant to imagine learn it through hits and misses, right? And then you figure it out. So what I'm doing with the AI is essentially bypassing that decades of knowledge when you can tap on this as an assistant to you, right? And that's where you can really super you can super accelerate your growth and your results just by doing that.
Right, and I think your website, I think it's very much like a coaching tool, isn't it? It's almost like bringing a mentor together with you for an appointment, because our mentor can't be 24/7, right? Sometimes emergency situation, that's where you really needed help immediately. You know, even sometimes for us, we may be doing something work in the daytime. That's where we get to you know, spend some time to do some analysis in the night, and we can't get help immediately, right? So and Ethan, I think in your website, I also see that you actually give step by step kind of coaching for different stages of a sale. So I think that is something that is to me is, like I said, very fascinating, and there's actually reports, and you can actually read and understand, you know, whoever's sitting opposite us. I mean, of course, while yes, this is a sales tool, as what Ethan mentioned just now, I think our day-to-day we are doing sales on a daily basis. We need to get buy-ins even from our children, from our bosses, you know, from our spouse. So I think these are very important skills that we can learn from that. So
we are thinking about we call it a just-in-time coaching tool, right? Mindreader is not a CRM, it's not a customer relationship management tool. It's not meant to keep a database of our clients. It's actually meant to coach you on how to sell the client, right? So right now it's just static text, but we are actually, number one, we're actually creating a just-in-time coaching, so that when you click on that section, you will have a video pop up and explaining to you what to do in that sense. So it's much more like you can just watch it. Let's say you're 5 minutes for an appointment, or 10 minutes you're on a Grab right now. You can just watch it quickly and say, okay, I'll just take note of these things before I go. So that's just-in-time coaching, right? Rather than, you know, you attend a class and then 2 days you try to integrate the advice into your practice. It's hard. So what we want to do is to be able to, like, on the just before you meet the client, you get the relevant
almost
advice.
Just in time.
And you don't even have to call a mentor, you can just look at that, right? And that's one thing. But the other thing we're building that's really exciting for me even is what we like to call, what we wanted to call Sales GPT, right? To be able to have a chatbot that's able to assist you even in crafting out scripts to use, or presentation to use, or even, like, let's say you want to reach out to this person, you can even create text, create the exact wording and all that. And then if you need advice on how to do certain aspects of your business, it will be able to teach you. And because of course ChatGPT fulfills that function to some level, but it's not, number one, it's not localized, number two, it's not specialized enough. It's really generic advice. So we want to be able to create something that's able to help people in the client-facing industry to be able to get that, right? So I think that's really fascinating, and not forgetting that this actually accommodates for the type of the client you're dealing with. Remember that you're really profile the client, right? And you know the client's type. So the sales GPT is able to take that into consideration and give you advice based on the client type. So I think that's what's exciting for me, right? So what you're seeing is only the beginning. I think there's a lot more that we are building out in the back end as well that I'm also excited by. It's just a lot of work.
No, certainly I think there's a lot that can be worked on. I think a lot of aspects actually. So we really look forward to a lot more new developments on the website. So below you can actually find the link to Ethan's website on Mindreader. So I understand there's this different subscription plans that can go on.
So well, it's a free tool. At the heart of it, it's a free tool. You can go to Mindreader AI and the Mindreader AI and try out the free tool. You can profile up to 5 people. But if you use a paid version, you'll be able to access the more premium features like this chatbot that we're building called Sales GPT. We are also able to profile more and store more clients for one thing. So I mean that's essentially the two tiers. The free tier, which you can try out, and then the paid tier, which is about USD 80 a month. But if you were to sign up for the year, it's about Sing $1,000 to use it. So
that's with no limits to the number of profiling that you're doing.
Yeah, so I think it depends, right? So if you're someone who meets quite a number of people and this is important for you to be able to turn every appointment into a higher chance to convert advantage, you can. It's not just like go in. You can't just go in and just hope for the best. You need a strategy, and this Mindreader really helps you really craft that. And the reason why I dare to video this out as a tech tool, because I've seen success. My students have used the system itself, increase their conversion from 50 to 50%, and they have come to me with a lot of stories of how they otherwise would not have closed a client, would not have converted a client, but when they took notice and just made a slight adjustment just from the advice they get, they could turn that into a sale. So these things count, right? Especially if you're somebody who's client facing, you know time is very precious and you don't want to waste any appointment you get. So that's how I see it.
I think just like the learning for the AI, in a way it's also, I would say, an exponential learning for the individuals who are using it, because within a shorter period of time, they will have a better grasp of the profiles. And so looking forward to much more profiling techniques, and I hope everybody can benefit from the website as much as I do. Alright, with that, thank you again, Ethan. It has been a pleasure having you with us. Right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.